Infectious mononucleosis is a common infection that includes a fever, sore throat, swollen lymph nodes in the neck, and severe fatigue, enlarged spleen, and loss of voice.
The causative agent of infectious mononucleosis is the Epstein-Barr virus, which is also known as EBV, human herpes virus 4, or HHV4. Epstein-Barr virus, or also called EBV, can stay in the human body for months and even years because it can lay out of action in our bodies even after you have mono. So therefore, the virus can become active at any point in time, making you contagious once again.
Mononucleosis mainly affects high schoolers and college students because of how much time they all spend around each other, especially in dormitories and cafeterias, where they all eat and drink after one another. The diagnosis for mononucleosis isn't as simple as you'd think it should be or would be. The signs and symptoms of some viruses, like the flu, are very similar to those that come with mono. Some signs for mono could be an enlarged spleen that can rupture if the person does too much activity or straining. Doctors will also look for a swollen liver and if your tonsils are covered in white, pussy patches. The most accurate tests that are used to see if you're infected with the virus are two different blood tests. The first blood test looks for the specific antibodies that your immune system makes in order to fight off the EBV virus. The second blood test looks for a certain type of white blood cell your body uses to specifically fight off infection. Also, a little side note, this is what my throat looked like when I left school for what the nurse thought was strep, but turned into mono. In order to prevent mono, it is almost impossible. Humans carry the virus and can pass it on without even knowing that they have it. Mono is mainly spread by saliva, so in order to prevent mono, don't kiss someone who has it, drink, eat, or share anything with other people, like a toothbrush, straws, eating utensils. You need to stay healthy as best as you can and try not to have any physical contact with someone who has an active monovirus. Try not to stress because that will put you at a higher risk of developing the infection and making it flare up 10 times worse. Lastly, eat better and work out to keep yourself as healthy as possible. These are the best ways to prevent yourself from catching mononucleosis.
Already threw it away. Got you a new one though.
Oh, you did?
In the video before, you see that my mom is telling someone that she threw my toothbrush away because she didn't want mono to spread throughout our house. And you can hear my voice kind of bubbly because my tonsils were so swollen in the picture above.
Mononucleosis is a virus, so therefore antibiotics can't be prescribed in order to treat it. In fact, antibiotics will make the symptoms worse. Normally, people with mono are given a steroid or prednisone to calm down the symptoms as best as possible. You will be ordered by your doctor to get all the rest you can. Cough drops and numbing throat spray will help with a sore throat. Participate in little to no activity in order to avoid rupturing your spleen. You should gargle warm salt water to soothe the throat and keep it clean. Lastly, try not to talk as much to avoid losing your voice completely.
Okay, so this is my experience with mono. Okay, last year, it was like my junior year, I went to volleyball practice for like off-season, whatever. I dislocated my knee doing butt kicks. Went to my knee specialist and they were like really worried about it because who dislocates their knee doing butt kicks? So he was just like, okay, I'm just gonna watch, like, just watch what you do, whatever. So I went on with my life. A couple weeks later, I started like getting really tired. I just felt really sick when I got home from school, and I would just go to bed and then wake up the next morning and I would feel fine. And that happened literally for like a week, and my mom thought I was like lying or like that I was depressed. Had our preacher come to our house and like pray over me, I guess, which is like sweet or whatever, but I was just like, Mom, I'm not depressed. I just don't feel good. So a couple days went on, and my throat started hurting, and she was like, you're just sleeping with your mouth open, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I went to school, and I went down to the nurse because I kept coughing, and my throat hurt really bad, and she like checked my throat, and she was like, yeah, there's like little white spots, and I was like, so can I go home? So she sent me home. My mom made me go to school the next day, and it got worse, and so I went to the doctor, and they put me on antibiotics, and it like made it worse, and I just like felt awful. So we went to another doctor, and they took me off antibiotics, and put me on a steroid called prednisone, and that just kind of made me like literally hate everyone. And my mom was just like worried about me, especially with like being so sick. So she took me back to another doctor, and they got really ticked off because you're not supposed to give someone prednisone, because that should have made me break out in a rash, but I didn't get it. So like said I was lucky for that. So they just told me to just like sleep, basically just lay down, don't do anything, try not to talk. So I did, and I like missed like 2 weeks of school, and it just kept getting worse. And so then I finally went back, and they like gave me like cough drops that like numb your throat, and then like sprays to like numb your throat. And then finally, like after a long time, I think it was like I missed like a month of school, like even finals. I got better, and it like cleared up, and like I'm gonna show pictures like in the iMovie or whatever about it, and it was awful. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, and sorry if you have it or had it. This is the result of mono being present in my body early on when I wasn't showing any signs of it. But the doctor said that the virus caused my muscles to weaken, so my quad didn't fire when it was supposed to, leading to the dislocation of my knee.
So I also had mononucleosis when I was about a sophomore in high school. It started out as my lymph nodes in my neck got super swollen, and like I noticed it because like I like couldn't really turn my neck without like restricting or like hurting, and like they just really got worse, and like they hurt to touch and they throbbed, and so I kind of like I told my mom about it, and she said just like wait a couple more days and we'll see how they are. They progressively got worse, and you could see like bulges from my neck. And so a couple of weeks passed, and I started to get like really tired, feeling like I really didn't want to be involved with anything. I couldn't focus on anything. It was really hard for me to wake up in the morning. Even if I got like 8 hours of sleep, I was still so tired all the time. So a couple more weeks went on, and I started to get like really inflamed tonsils, and they were really red, and they started to develop like white pouches on them. It was like really pussy, and it hurt to swallow, it hurt to talk. I really, like my voice was like really raspy, and so that's when I told my mom like we need to go to the doctor because something's wrong, because it's like been a month with all these symptoms. And so we went to the doctor, and they drew blood from me, and they tested me for mono, and it turned out I did have mono, and I had had it for about a month when my lymph nodes started swelling. So basically I was just super tired all the time. My throat killed me, absolutely killed me. The lymph nodes in my neck were so huge. I had a little bit of abdominal pain like around my spleen area because it was enlarged as well. I missed about a week and a half of school, which was awful. And basically they gave me prednisone, which didn't work because it made my face break out in a rash. It made me look like I got like sunburned all over my face, and it made me swell up, and I couldn't take that. And so they basically said like, you're just gonna have to fight this off like yourself. So I eventually fought it off, and I got better.
Do you know the source of your infection?
We first thought it was like the kids at Latchgate because that's where I worked, and it was like flu season, and they were coughing and sneezing, just not washing their hands. But then I kind of like retraced my steps and like when it happened, and my boyfriend now actually was in my ceramics class, and when he would work out, I would drink his pre-workout, and we would just like drink after each other because I had volleyball practice after, and I just like wanted to be energetic, whatever. And after I had recovered from mono, like a month after, he actually told me that he had mono, so I blame it on him. And lastly, these are the sources that we used.